said about the 3 to 16 education. You think that there's too much of a gap and it's unrealistic to be saying that children from such a young age and such an old age can integrate in the same sort of schools?
Yes, I know they say that there will be separate blocks, but they're also proposing one head teacher, one governing body, and my fear is that the governing body will be so pushed to looking at GCSE results, Key Stage 4 results, that along the way the foundation phase might be forgotten about.
And they're going to forget about the younger children's needs and things like that?
I'd hope not, but it is my fear that is what will happen. There's no understanding of the foundation phase.
And in regards to all the nursery cuts that's happening in RCT at the moment, do you think that's going to affect you as well?
It's bound to. First off, because of the positioning of Tonopandi School in particular, if you've got a 3-year-old and 5-year-old, for instance, you'd be taking your 3-year-old up to what is the top of the mountain. The Tonopandi School is really badly placed. You have to take your 3-year-old up in the morning for 2.5 hours, back down, back up to your 5-year-old. What's going to happen, I think, is people are not going to take up that part-time place, and so children are going to be losing out on education at that young age when it is vitally important.
It's also things like social integration. It's going to be difficult for children at such a young age to be mixing with children that's 5, 6, all the way up to 16-year-olds as well. And if you're saying there's going to be one head teacher and one governing body, then it's impossible to think that they can cater for all of these children just in one single place. So do you think that will lead to more cuts in different schools and that then, if you're kind of bunching all the children together in certain schools? Do you think it's going to lead to more cuts in schools as well?
It could work both ways as regards the movement of children, because some people will see the benefits of a brand new school and not look past anything else, and they could well move their children from places like Cwmclydach, from Tonopia into the new Tonopandi School. On the other hand, there have been parents who've said, if this is going ahead, I will move my children out to another school.
Yes, so, out of the Rhondda as well, that's the worry.
Well, exactly, and you don't know what the movement's going to cause. It's also very, very inequitable, and I think that's my biggest bugbear. It's not fair, it's not equitable, because you're going to have some schools that are going to be second class in effect.
And then will those children then be at a disadvantage if they're thinking of going to higher education or going for different forms of employment? They might be at a disadvantage then, coming from a school like that, and maybe they couldn't get into one of the more popular schools or the better schools with the better results sort of thing.
I think one of the mistakes they make as well is they are referring to the new Tonrevel and Treorchy School as centres of excellence, and by that very term it suggests that the other schools are not excellent, which is far from true. Tonopandi and Porth and Findale are all excellent schools. It's a misnomer then to put them in that category. We could end up losing staff because staff at the top end want to teach A-level. They want to see their pupils progress right through the system. And so I've got a very real fear that we will lose quality staff in subjects like science, English, maths, core subjects, that we need those staff in.
Do you think as well, in regards to terminology, I was just reading the report, do you think by labelling people as deprived, and there's a lot of terminology flying about the rich kids and the poor kids, do you think by labelling that you created more of a distinction between these people and there's more tensions between them? Or do you think that it's helping recognise a need that needs to be filled, and you're doing this through things like the pupil deprivation grant?
It is a horrible term. I don't like the term, but it is something, as you say, it needs to be there in order that you can identify the problem, because we don't know what the scale of the problem is and how can you go about fixing it. Free school meals, again, it's a very strange indicator of need, because there are pupils who don't have free school meals who have needs as well, and pupils on free school meals who do very well. But we have to have a baseline indicator somewhere, and whilst they're not ideal, then at the moment they're the best we've got to work with.
So in regards to the pupil deprivation grant, as Governor of Tonopandi School, can you see that there's been clear benefits from this in Tonopandi School, or can you see how it's been applied in Tonopandi School? Because it's all about the transparency of how it's used and where it's applied. From your personal experience as Governor, can you see the benefits of this for Tonopandi School?
It's starting to come through. I mean, the system's only been in place for 3 years so far, so we haven't got them up to that. We haven't seen the full cohort go through the school to find out what the final results are. But certainly there's an awful lot of work going on to find out how we can, in a way, back up what is missing at home.
Yeah.
Not to any fault of the parents necessarily, but because they don't have access to the internet.
Yeah.
They don't have the iPads that other children have. So we are looking at ways constantly how we can put in that sort of backup.
Right.
Because obviously the teaching they get in the school will be constant, regardless of whether they free school meals or not. What we need to put in place is all the extras.
What about, finally, you said that this grant is going up to 2017, and I was just curious to know, within the next 2 years there's 29 million worth of cuts being made to education and skills in Wales. So after 2017 and after the new election, how do you propose to keep this at your forefront, to keep this a priority and keep the funding going even after all those cuts are being made?
Obviously it depends on what the situation is regards to the government in Wales at the time. Welsh Liberal Democrat position is clear. This money needs to continue as long as it can prove to be effective. Which is why the reports into how it's being used are very important. If this money is proven its worth, then it has to continue.